These drug dealers speak your kids' language. They're extremely manipulative and cunning. If you try fentanyl one time, it's not a matter of if you're going to die, it's a matter of when. Weston was really headstrong. We had had so many conversations about never, ever, ever trying something that someone gives you. I underestimated, just thinking that that was enough. I didn't find out until the next morning. I got the phone call at 7 a.m. the next day that my son was gone, and my husband I got the call and he said, he's dead. We were living in Southern California in Dana Point. I met my husband when we both worked for Oracle. I was an outside sales rep and so was he. Eventually, we finally, after several years, started dating. We got married and Weston was our first child. We went on to have 4 more children. We raised them all in the Christian church and Christian faith and Christian school. Weston was the one who taught me what it was like to really know love. He taught me how to be a mother. He was just a beautiful kid. He was sweet. His heart was big. He was full of compassion. He lived to make people laugh. He has a YouTube that it's hilarious to watch. He was Mr. Personality. He had 1,000,001 friends. He was involved in sports and he was, a good student. Weston was at a brand new school. He had just made friends with a new group of kids. I think it was overwhelming. It was so much bigger than his small private school, but he really wanted to be in public. Weston was really headstrong. We had had so many conversations about never, ever, ever trying something that someone gives you. I underestimated, just thinking that that was enough. He knew better, but kids' social status is like stardom. It's worth its weight in gold. And when everybody in the room is trying something and you're new and you don't want to stand out or, be like that Christian schooled kid, he wanted to be like everybody else. His doctor 2 weeks earlier had offered him Percocet for the pain from hurting his hand. He hurt his hand. He was with a bunch of his friends. It wasn't a party. It was just, they were over someone's house. So when he was offered a Percocet, he, I think, tried it thinking it's probably safe. My doctor gave it to me, only tried a quarter of a pill with other kids. And, 7 out of 10 pills are deadly. And it wasn't a Percocet at all. It was a counterfeit pill. It was blue press powder with pure fentanyl, nothing else. There was no Percocet in it. They didn't open up a prescription pill and stick fentanyl in it and reseal it. This was a fake counterfeit pill with all the real markings. And it took my son. I didn't find out until the next morning. I wasn't home. I was away in Florida. And so I got the phone call at 7 a.m. the next day that my son was gone. And my husband I got the call and he said, he's dead. And I sat up in my bed and I said, who? I was thinking he was going to tell me like a cousin or a relative. And he said, Weston. And I was like, I thought I was still asleep and dreaming. And I hung up the phone immediately. And I called 911. And I said, someone needs to go to my house right now. My husband just told me my son's gone. My phone rang again. And it was my husband, and he said, and it's too late. They're already here. And he's gone. And I just couldn't wrap my head around that. I didn't know what was happening. I just didn't understand what was happening. And how you said You're a child that for every success in the world that this could happen. Didn't make any sense. It just was never gonna happen to us. We had a great life. We did everything right. We ate dinner together every night. Went to church on Wednesday nights and Sundays and raised him in the Christian church and private schooled him. Gosh, I think of things like he had braces, so he'd have a great smile when he's older, and all his well checks and every dentist appointment, and making sure he always looked nice with the right clothes, and it was all gone, just like that.
New bipartisan report from Congress finding that most of our country's supply of deadly fentanyl and other synthetic opioids comes out of Mexico, which means it crosses the border.
It was a completely preventable crisis. You saw 10,000 people come over in one day, and millions of people are here illegally flooding the borders. With that came drugs and all sorts of things. They trafficked people. So to me, the fact that all these kids are dead, all these people are dead, 500,000 people in America, there's 1 million parents mourning the loss of children, could have been prevented. It was 100% preventable. After my son died, I just had my face in my hands going, I don't understand why they're not doing anything. Where is the COVID response? It's the #1 killer. At the time, it was 18 to 45. Last year, it became 15 to 48. #1, more than cancer, more than car accidents, more than guns that they talk about all the time. What made me upset is that they didn't try to go above and find out who was dealing it to this kid, and then go up the chain of command so that they could find the source and cut it off at the source. But, you know, as California goes, they really don't prosecute. So Gavin Newsom is incredibly negligent and liable, in my opinion. He could have, as a governor, done something, and he did nothing. So I absolutely blame this crisis on the government at the time, including California. I absolutely blame the last administration, the Biden administration, with Kamala Harris, who posted on her Twitter account at the time that she was appointed to be in charge of the border. In March of 2021, she made a post and she acknowledged that she was going to be in charge of the border and that it wasn't going to be easy, but she was ready to tackle it. And she did nothing.
We've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
It was insulting that nothing was happening in those years. Thank God we did what we needed to do, and we put a president who actually cares about us and who's doing everything he can to stop this crisis. I joined a group called Lost Voices of Fentanyl. It's been amazing being able to connect with other angel parents who know exactly what you're going through, and we all have different journeys. I have my child who was not an addict. There's parents who are. What I've learned is, addict or not, no one deserves to be deceived to death. I think it's been comforting having other parents who have been through losing a child, because we can relate to each other. We all have our own story, but we can all relate. I was chosen to speak at the RNC, and that has opened every door for me to be an advocate against the scourge of fentanyl that was coming over the border. And since then, it's just taken off. I've had the absolute honor and privilege to work in front of the cameras with President Trump and deliver speeches. And Weston's really become the poster child of this. You know, I have to give that to God. It helps me realize that Weston's life had a purpose, and it wasn't just about Weston making a bad decision and dying. It was God had a plan for my son's life, because I know that my son is saving lives through his story. And so while I mourn in the loss of my son, I have to give it to God that I know that my son's in a good place in God's arms until I can meet him again, and that he's saving lives and he had a purpose. What I always tell parents is to talk to your kids about peer pressure, because at the end of the day, peer pressure was really the driving force behind my son. These drug dealers speak your kids' language. They're extremely manipulative and cunning. Fentanyl should not have been over here. If you try fentanyl one time, it's not a matter of if you're going to die, it's a matter of when. When are you going to die from it? Is it the first time you try it, or is it going to get a hold of you and you're not going to be able to stop? Or is it going to be, 5 weeks from then, or 3 weeks from then, or 1 week? It's 50 times more addictive than crack. So parents should know what they're dealing with. President Trump is really doing everything to drive this vehicle into a wall and stop it altogether. He is the hope that we needed, and this is truly what we voted for when we voted for President Trump. All of us who are missing kids, it's hard to find people who are in the fentanyl fight that don't support President Trump. We have people who are huge Democrats that suddenly woke up because they're like, why isn't my side doing anything about this? My child is dead. And the only thing they could do is turn around and support President Trump. There's no true justice for me. I can't, my son is gone, and the only thing that I would love is to hold him again, and I can't. So justice would be holding people accountable that were part of this, going up the chain, criminalizing people. That Halt Fentanyl Act will do that, and getting, to the bottom of who supplied everything. And that would be perfect justice. But as far as justice for America, we elected him back in November, and he's doing everything he can for us.